What's going on, nerds and bandits? It's your boy Noel, aka Mr. NCU himself, back at it again with another video. Before we get into, of course, the topic of today's video, as you've noticed probably if you've been following the page, the background and setting is different. Yes, I have moved into a new apartment. This video was supposed to come out about a month or so ago, but of course with the moving and then getting a new job and of course getting back into college because this is my senior year, it took a lot longer than I needed it to. But of course with me being settled in, the setup actually being put back up into place, more and more content should be flowing out. As always, I want to thank you all for working with me, especially considering that my upload schedule has been kind of hit or miss, but of course, like I said, work, trying to finish up college, and just doing what I can to get as much content out as possible. I appreciate you guys for still sticking around. With all that out of the way though, just like how my college career is about to get close to the end, so is One Piece. Whether you're an anime only watcher, a manga reader, or a combination of the both, at the end of the day, you understand that One Piece is getting closer and closer to its end. For anime only watchers, of course you guys have seen and been introduced to the gorosei and their abilities. For manga readers, obviously you've been introduced to the Holy Knights. And the only real information that we're still looking for and trying to understand is the Void Century, Joy Boy / Nika, and of course Imu. But as lore continues to be expounded on and battles are starting to increase, of course we're seeing some more high and climactic battles. At the end of the day, the Straw Hats are going to need some significant upgrades to be a factor to ending it. We all know our captain ate the Nika fruit and of course has Gear 5th Joy Boy. We understand that Zoro has advanced Conqueror's Haki and of course the King of Hell. And we understand that Sanji not only has very high observation Haki, but of course his Germa upgrades. And even when it comes down to Nami, though she does not have Haki and she's not one of the physically strongest in One Piece, at the end of the day, she does control Zeus. And out of the original 5 One Piece characters, those of course being before the Grand Line, the one who seems to be getting shafted the most, at least when it comes to upgrades, is Usopp. And whether it's Usopp meeting his dad, Usopp fighting Van Augur, at the end of the day, Usopp is going to need a significant upgrade to be an actual factor in helping Luffy become the Pirate King. And though we saw a tidbit of what could happen in Dressrosa, at the end of the day, I think something that would be a very big shocker, but all of a sudden really help Usopp overall, is if he gets a version of Advanced Conqueror's Haki. And of course, I know what you're thinking. The coward of the crew getting an ability that 2 of the other top tier Straw Hats has, how would that make sense? Well, based off of reading and watching One Piece as well as some other animes, I have a way that Usopp could get it that could still make sense and of course be fun. But before we get into that, if you guys don't mind, please like the video, subscribe to the NCU channel, and of course turn on notifications so that way I know that you won't miss any uploads. Doing this of course helps my channel grow, helps me understand what you all like to watch and of course what I should continue to cover, and overall just helps the NCU community grow as well. And whether it's anime reviews, anime hot takes, or anything of the nature, of course you can send it to me through my link tree and all my other social medias, and of course comment it down below. And if this is your first time checking out the channel, I welcome you. And of course, I hope you stick around because we got a lot of things we're gonna go through throughout the year. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the real reason why you clicked into this video. Usopp, Conqueror's Haki, let's talk about it. So before we get even deeper into this video, of course I'm going to preference this. Spoilers ahead if you are anime only. If you are anime only but you still kind of already gotten spoiled and you still want to check around, then hey, I appreciate it, but I'm just letting you guys know, spoilers ahead just in case you're anime only and you haven't read the manga. So with all of that out of the way, currently we are at Elbaph going through Loki's flashback talking about Rock's Herald and of course Roger. Outside of the flashback, the Holy Knights of course have attacked Elbaph, are threatening the giant children, and of course Imu has taken over Gunko's body and Dami Reversi, Dory, and Brogy. And while Luffy and Chopper are in the underworld trying to help out Loki heal from his wounds, Zoro and Sanji are heading upwards from the underworld to help out the rest of the Straw Hats as well as the Giants. I definitely think that the Elbaph arc will end probably mid to end of 2026, but even outside of that, it shows that after the Elbaph arc, we only have a couple of things we need to touch on before One Piece ends. We still have to go through the Void Century, we still have to talk about Nika, Joy Boy, and Imu. We have to have the war with the world government as well as the Blackbeard pirates, and of course we have to find the One Piece. And with that little left in One Piece, though of course it could be expounded on for years to go on, it doesn't leave that much for Usopp to actually do. Because once the Elbaph arc ends, we're going to sit back and understand that, hey, they're going straight into these battles, straight into these climactic events, straight into more lore, and overall it's going to get really hectic really fast. So in order to talk about how Usopp could get Conqueror's Haki, let's talk about how Usopp literally started from the beginning of One Piece until where he's at now. Right before the Straw Hat crew hit the Grand Line, of course we saw them all put their feet into the middle of a barrel and talk about what their dreams were. Outside of Usopp, of course, wanting to meet the Giants and going to Elbaph, his main dream was to become a brave warrior of the sea. And though we know that Usopp, of course, is the comedy character, the coward, and all of that, Usopp did have some very impressive things that he did pre-time skip. Though I'd argue he didn't do much in his lobby because I believe he sat back at Water 7 while Soja King took over. And by the way, drop down in the comments if you think Soja King is going to return before the series ends. Whether it's shooting down the flag in Enies lobby, fighting the Baroque workers in Alabasta, taking on Perona in Thriller Bark, Usopp really was an essential and of course clutch member for the Straw Hats. This of course got stopped once the Straw Hats reached Sabaody, where they all got separated. This of course we find out later from Kuma that he did that because he understood that the Straw Hats were not ready for the new world. And that sending them to different islands not only helped save their lives, but of course put them in a position to train and become stronger to enter the new world. And of course, once we got back to the Return to Sabaody arc, we saw all of their new designs and it was like, oh my gosh, these characters are about to be a cut above the rest. But outside of going from a beanbag to the epitome of help, from the Return to Sabaody up until Dressrosa, all Usopp really shown is that he had new weapons within his kit. And then of course, once we reached Dressrosa, that's when we saw that Usopp was able to tap into observation Haki. As somebody that started off as an Usopp fan when I was first watching One Piece, this was something that blew my mind and I was like, oh my gosh, thank God that Usopp is getting an upgrade. But unfortunately, after of course saving Law and Luffy in Dressrosa, he hasn't really done much. Whether it be from Wano to Egghead to Elbaph, there hasn't been anything notable that we can say Usopp has clutched this out like he did in previous arcs. And unless they give him another upgrade or hone in even more on his observation Haki, he's really going into the final wars very underpowered. Which is why I think one of those needed and major upgrades would be to give him advanced Conqueror's Haki. And though Usopp is definitely a liar to a degree, at the end of the day, every lie he has stated has come true in some way, shape, or form. And with one of Usopp's dreams being that he reached Elbaph, the land of the giants and the land of the giant warriors, his next dream, and of course his biggest one that he started off with, is still that he wants to be a brave warrior of the sea. So with that being stated, this is how I think that Usopp could get that needed upgrade as well as possibly advance Conqueror's Haki. During the Elbaph arc, we understand that Luffy and Loki will eventually get up to the Sun World to take on the Holy Knights and of course Imu. Now, considering the threat of Imu and the Holy Knights, I definitely don't believe that, of course, they will be defeated in Elbaph. And considering in the manga, Imu already brought up that Marie Joie was being attacked, eventually I believe they will all make a tactical retreat. With that being stated, Elbaph at this point will be in a very big state of turmoil. You already have some of the giants who want to keep and maintain the heritage that they had, which is being, of course, giant warriors, while you have some of the other giants who want to just keep the peace. And then you're going to have the discourse about Loki being released considering the way that they viewed him. This, of course, might cause some tensions when it comes to the Straw Hats and, of course, the Giants. With all this discourse going on in Elbaph, the Straw Hats are going to understand that they not only still have to take down the world government, but still find the One Piece. And we also understand that Luffy is still going to probably ask Loki, hey, join my crew, but I definitely believe that Loki is going to decline. Having declined, though, once the Straw Hats start packing up and getting ready to sail away, Usopp is going to pull Luffy to the side and tell him that he needs to have a conversation with him. As Luffy steps to the side with Usopp, Usopp lets him know that, hey, I'm going to stay back on Elbaph. This will be somewhat similar to when Jinbei asked Luffy to stay back on Whole Cake Island to help his fishmen, so that way they will be all able to escape. Nevertheless, when Luffy asks Usopp why, Usopp basically has a heartfelt conversation with him. He lets Luffy know that yes, there is very big discourse when it comes to the giants, but at the end of the day, they're probably going to need them if they really want to take down the world government. Outside of Usopp trying to do what he can to mend the relationship and the tension of the giant warrior pirates and the giants of Elbaph, Usopp also lets Luffy know that he feels like he just hasn't really been a help recently. He tells Luffy that when they first started their journey together, he told him he was going to be a brave warrior of the sea, but at every given turn, he always had this cowardice moment, and that overall, he just felt like he wasn't really living up to being the sniper and being a part of the Straw Hat crew. He tells Luffy that at the end of the day, whether you're at Marie Joie or you're at Laugh Tale, I will be there to see you become King of the Pirates, and I will be there to help you, but I feel like I need to train in order to actually stand side by side with you. And though Luffy probably would try to convince him that no, you're a strong warrior, you are doing great, Usopp lets him know that at the end of the day, this is for him, and he really needs to live up to what his dream was. After some more conversation and thought, Luffy tells Usopp basically the same thing he told Jinbei. At the end of the day, you are a part of my crew, so you better return. The Straw Hats at this point, of course, sail off. We get into some other arcs. I want to say Lodestar would be next, and we start learning more about the Void Century and everything in between. Eventually, after that arc, we land at Marie Joie or wherever else the final battle with the Gorosei, Emu, and the world government is going to be. We, of course, see other pirate crews such as Shanks, Crossgill, Blackbeard, and, of course, we see the Revolutionary Army. During this hectic battle, we're starting to see that the world government is really getting the upper hand. And when it seems like Emu is going to give a devastating blow to Luffy, a green star flies through the sky and hits them. Emu, the Gorosei, Holy Knights, Luffy, the Straw Hats, the Revolutionary Army, and anybody else who's there at that battle turns their head to the sea to see Usopp standing on the front of the giant ship holding his black Kabuto, ready for battle. Bringing the giants in, of course, turns the tide of the battle, and this is also where we starting to see that Usopp has Conqueror's Haki. Now, of course, when I thought of the idea of Usopp having Conqueror's Haki, I didn't think of it in the traditional way that we saw people like Roger, Luffy, Zoro, and many others who have Conqueror's Haki has it. The way that I saw Usopp having Conqueror's Haki was somewhat similar to how I saw King in One Punch Man. If you haven't watched One Punch Man, King is a character who's basically just a normal human, but because of his anxiety and his heartbeat, it gives off this energy and presence that he's a much bigger threat. This, of course, has made multiple enemies give up because they believe that King is just this otherworldly threat when in reality he's just really having bad anxiety and fear. And this is something I definitely believe Usopp could have, considering the wacky nature that One Piece still has. While there's many characters, of course, we saw use Conqueror's Haki being very calm, stoic, sometimes angry, and just instantly unleash it, Usopp uses it in a trying to psych himself into it while his heart is pounding, while he's feeling still a bit of fear, but he's trying to choose to be brave, and then he just releases it. Now, of course, I wouldn't have it on the strength of a Zoro or a Luffy or a Shanks, but it's still strong enough to where it puts a notice and a presence on everybody. Outside of Advanced Conqueror's Haki, this would also be a situation where I would see Usopp getting much better at his observation Haki, and overall, bringing in the giant warriors will literally turn the tide of the battle. After defeating the world government, this is if Emu is not the final villain, then of course I would have Usopp meet his father, and eventually we get the Straw Hats versus the Blackbeard Pirates. With this battle, of course, we all understand that we're going to get Usopp versus Van Augur. Now, Van Augur's ability allows him to teleport anywhere in a certain vicinity and, of course, make sure he gets the perfect sniper shot. This, of course, makes Van Augur a very difficult opponent to face unless, of course, you have some very good precognition with your observation Haki, and that way you're able to locate him. And with me talking about how Usopp has this different version of Conqueror's Haki, this would also help Usopp in this battle. Because yes, he could use precognition / future sight in order to find where Van Augur is going to teleport next, but of course, having that anxiety and fear be in his Conqueror's Haki could also make Van Augur second guess where he's going to teleport next, which then will have Usopp get the perfect shot. This battle, of course, isn't easy or smooth in the slightest, as it's very gritty, very bloody, and pushes Usopp and Van Augur to their limits. Now, reports have been stated that Oda said that one of the Straw Hats would die. And if that is still going to be the case, I think that this would probably be the perfect time to eliminate one of the Straw Hats. Because at this point, I think if Oda did decide to get rid of Usopp, with the way that I laid out his upgrades, I think this would be perfect because Usopp would have then completed his dream. He would have became a brave warrior of the sea. He would have became a captain. And of course, he would have led a fleet, because I forgot to mention that also with the giant pirates, the Straw Hat fleet would have probably followed with them. And even if he doesn't decide to, of course, take out any Straw Hats, or if he does and it's just not Usopp, at the end of the day, this would be the perfect cherry on top for Usopp's character arc. Overall, Usopp is still one of my favorite characters in One Piece, and somebody that I really want to see get that shine going forward before this series ends. I do understand, of course, you still have to have the nature of the comedy character, somebody that's going to, of course, keep things lighthearted and funny, but I still want Usopp to fulfill his dreams, and I think giving him not only the upgrade that he needs for his observation Haki, but giving him a different version of Conqueror's Haki will literally put him above all. Of course, not being above Luffy or anything when it comes to strength, but of course, just the fans want to see Usopp shine, and I think this is one of the perfect ways to have Usopp shine. But with all that being said, I appreciate you all for sticking with me this long. And of course, let me know, do you agree that Usopp should get a version of Advanced Conqueror's Haki or any other sort of upgrades? Drop it down in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching this video all the way up until the end. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and of course share with friends that are big One Piece fans, big anime fans, or just comics and gaming in general. If you still got some extra time on your hands, please check out my Bleach review as I'm going through the series of that, because I've never watched it and I'm trying to, of course, get into it and make content on that as well. And if you have any recommendations for any other animes or even anime movies, drop it down in the comment section and I'll definitely give my reviews and my thoughts on those as well. Thank you guys all for, of course, checking out the NCU channel again, and I'll see y'all on the next one.